And that's what it is.
That's sad.
It is sad. For everybody who was in Israel before the war, as the war started and after the war started, it was clear on the street to see it. The hatred you could see on the street. You could see it when you talked to interviewed people in the governments.
The country is more unified now than it has been in many
That's what I'm
years,
saying.
many years.
That's the silver lining. The country is more unified than it ever been. But the question is what happens on the day after. If they come to any kind of solution, any kind of... Will the present government and its leader renew the hatred? And if that is being renewed after the whole catastrophe and the trauma of the war, which has been very traumatic for the people of Israel, amazingly traumatic, they never believed they are so exposed. If that hatred will come back again and it shows signs of reliving that thing, that will be the end of Israel. I mean, that will be the tragic. It's not just going to be end. It's going to be traumatic people who cannot just be there, and that will be very, very sad.
Let's assume.
One more time, if the Jews lose the land, will affect the future of Judaism in general.
Last question. Assuming that the Jewish people in Israel and worldwide got a restart from this event and remain united. It's still living in a very hostile environment, even though the Abraham Accords resolved a lot of issues. But we still have very hostile neighbors. What's your prediction on that front?
The Israeli-Palestinian question is never going to go away. It's impossible for it to go away. It's by its nature, it's impossible for it to go away. I mean, it's just the Palestinian side wants all Israel, and that's never going to happen. I mean, nobody's going to give the Palestinians, nobody able in his mind is going to give the Palestinians more than Ehud Barak gave them, and he gave them everything, practically everything. And it gave him Jerusalem. This is what he said to me when I interviewed him. Yes, I gave him his Jerusalem. He gave them everything. And still they didn't want it. They still came up, they want more. And
so the terrorism is going to continue?
Who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop it? The world is not going to allow Israel to basically erase Hamas from the face of the earth. The present leaders of Israel are not strong enough. And I don't see it.
You met the leadership of many Arab countries.
And I met some of the leaders, not all of them,
but the general inclination and understanding is that there are two sides to every public image. In the public, of course, they have to support the Palestinian cause, etc. While at the same time, nobody really wants the Palestinians.
That's true. The Palestinians are known in the Arab world as the Jews. They are the so-called the Jews of the Arab world. Nobody likes them.
And nobody likes Hamas either.
But the point is, the rest of the world doesn't like Hamas or Palestinian either. Why do you think the world likes Palestine and they don't like Kurdistan? The idea of Kurdistan, or the Kurds are being slaughtered on right and left, from Iraqis, from Turkish, from every power that be, for ages, and nobody takes about. There are 50 million Kurds in the world, and nobody cares about them. Nobody goes on the street and says, until Shukhar Kurdistan, let Kurdistan be free. Nobody said that. Nobody cares about anything. I mean, the Muslim in China, by the hundreds of thousands, not by the millions, are suffering there in jails for nothing, rotting in jail and dying. I mean, in Yemen, tons of Muslims, thousands of Muslims are dying all the time. In Syria, wherever. Look what happens in Sudan. Look at the world. Actually, the people, the nice people of Europe, for example, who cares about human rights, don't care about human rights of anybody except for the Palestinian. And not only Palestinians. Nobody cares about the human rights of Palestinians in Jordan. Nobody cares about human rights of Palestinians in Lebanon, or nobody cares about anywhere. Only where they are next to the Jews, because it's not the love of Palestine.
So you don't see this time war as a reset?
The hate of the Jew. There is not going to be a reset. I mean, it's like, By the end of the day, it depends on us. If you are united, if the Jews are united, and fight this animosity, together with power, fight this hatred and calling spade a spade. And we don't do that. We have not done that yet. And nobody really cares for the Palestinians. Nobody, you think, the Afrikaners over there in South Africa cares for Palestine. Since when? She don't care for anybody else. Why does he care for Palestinians? The only reason why people care for Palestinians is because the other side is the Jews. It's you say it in Hebrew, lo me'avat Mordechai ela mesinat Haman, and vice versa. It's not for the love of Mordechai or whatever. It's the sinat Haman, and the same thing here. It's not the love of Palestinian. It's the hate of the Jew. And they found a way to show their hate of the Jew and to exercise their hate of the Jew and calling it human rights by basically championing the Palestinian cause. And no matter how much money you give the Palestinians, no matter how much you give the Palestinians want the people who call themselves Palestinians, who actually did not exist. But it is okay. People can renew themselves and call themselves whatever they want, queers, for example, or on the other kind, non-binary people. It's like, but by the end of the day, the people who call themselves Palestinians their whole existence is not to have Jews around them. And no matter how much they get money to like the Jews, you'll never like the Jews. No matter how much they profit from the Jew in their neighborhood, in terms of economic terms, financial terms, whatever it is, educational, by the end of the day, even the Israeli Arabs, I'm sorry to say to you, they are calling themselves today, for a long time now, Palestinians. 30 years ago, they didn't call themselves Palestinians. They call themselves Palestinians, and they want the same thing. While they are doing a very good living, and good jobs and good everything, they would rather live under the control of Hamas than under the control of the Jews, in the Jewish state. They would rather live in Hamas states than in the Jewish states, because that's what it is. And
the Poles of the Arabs living in Israel.
What?
The Poles of the Arab Israelis living in Israel have so far shown that they would much rather prefer to live in a Jewish state.
No, it's not true. It depends. Polling is a big lie. It's like, we know that. It depends how you ask a question. It depends who is asking. Sit down with those Palestinians, with those Arabs, Israeli Arabs, and talk to them. Muslim to Muslim. Arabs to an Arab. How many of them you think will tell you they prefer to live in a Jewish state? If you are an Arab sitting and talking to them. That's what I'm doing. I pretend to be from Syria, from Lebanon, or whatever it is. And then they tell me what they really think. And how do I know all this? Again, because I do the walking. I go there, sit with them, drink coffee with them, or whatever it is, and they tell me the truth. And between you and me, for a person who has a very strong identity, whatever that identity is, why should he be with somebody else that he conceives as an enemy? By the end of the day, they are religious people. And people of faith, their faith is stronger than anything. Why do you need anything else? Why? The Palestinian Muslim, they basically forced the Palestinian Christian out of any Arab neighborhood. Look what happens in Ramallah. Used to be a huge number of Christians there, they're no longer. Look at Bethlehem. Supposedly, that's where the Jesus story is. They have the Nativity church there. Used to be majority Christians, and today hardly Christians over there. It's faith. They are faith-driven, the Palestinians. And even within themselves, the Muslim majority pushes away the Christian minority. And the Christian minority, what do you think? They blame the Muslims, their brethren, for what happens to them? For being kicked out of all kinds of good places. No, they blame the Jews. That's the fact. The Christians have been driven out of Ramallah. The Palestinian Christians have been driven out of Ramallah or Bethlehem or anywhere else under the Palestinian Authority. Whom do you think they blame? And then they find themselves, living to wherever it is, immigrating out of Palestine, to the United States or to Britain or to wherever it is. And you ask them whose fault it is that you are here, the Jews. Always the Jews. When logic doesn't talk to people, when facts do not talk to people, why do you think that you or the Americans or anybody else will be able to convince them if there's no logic here? Just hate.
So based on all the hate that you know in the world, now I'm going to put you down to it. Choose one place. If you had to stop traveling and you had to settle down to one place, where would it be?
It's going to be Israel, Imachai and Yosef by the end
Despite
of the
the neighbors that you just described?
Of course. It's like, what do you think, the Americans are better? Go on the streets of New York. See
Where in Israel?
Well, probably Tel Aviv. Probably Tel Aviv. That's, by the end of the day, that's the new spirit, at least of the dream, of creating an Israeli character. So, probably Tel Aviv. There's not a perfect, there's no place in the world is perfect, so, and I am not perfect either, but by the end of the day, if push comes to shove, a Jew has to be in a Jewish
I hear that
house.
when Bibi resigns, they need somebody to take his job.
Thank you very much, maybe I'll give it to you. Okay, Grosnes Koyach.
Toda Rabba.
Toda Rabba.
Thank you.
Thank you.